Let me tell you, all participants, today we'll be having a quiz at the end of the session 2 that will last for 1 hour, and there will be 50 questions into that quiz. And all the questions will be based on the different technical sessions that you have attended till date, including today's as well. And the form will be having its time to share your feedback and attendance as well as quiz. That will be auto closing link. And already all the video of the session has been shared over the YouTube for your reference, please. So you may refer that videos and you can understand what is the concept, and you have to appear into the test to be eligible to get certificate of this FDP. In case of any query, you may directly ask me after the session is over, and I'll be more than happy to assist you in that. And sir, Dr. Abhinav sir is busy in today class in the college, so that's why he is not able to join us. And he has asked us to permit us to continue the session. Nitin sir, I guess participants are joining, and there are 21 participants, so it's time 10, and we can start now. I mean, in the meantime, participant will be having in numbers now. They are continuously joining.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah.
no
sir.
problem.
A very
Before
warm
starting, sir, let me introduce Dr. Nitin Garg. He is assistant professor, associate professor in Department of Biotechnology, and he is the session moderator of the day. So he'll be taking care of the session and presentation today. Thanks a lot, sir, for joining us, and it's a wonderful pleasure for us that you have consented us to give you delivery and talk to all the participants. And I'm confident that this is going to be a good session for all of them, and including us as well. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Over to you, Nitin, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Vikas sir. A very warm good morning to all present here. Today we are entering into the fifth day of our FDP. In fact, it is the last day of the FDP. Sir, Indu Shekhar sir, we are having in
Good
total
morning. Yeah.
12 sessions, 13 sessions in fact in last 4 days on various aspect of waste management and all those things. I welcome you sir on behalf of our department and ILM Engineering. Professor Dr. Indu Shekhar Thakur, FNASC, FNAS, FIBA, FBRS, FNAES, FIESS, graduated and served at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and GB Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar, as professor, associate professor, and assistant professor, working on research area of bioremediation, biovalorization, and detoxification of natural and organic compounds. He developed bacterial consortium by genetic breeding, characterized genes and proteins, proteomics, genomics, always for greenhouse gases, sequestration for biomass, enzyme, biodiesel, bioflocculant, bioplastic, biomaterials, biocomposite materials synthesized by enzymes absorbed on calcitate of carbon dioxide, sequestering bacteria for chromate, arsenate, heavy metal removal, degradation of pentathiochlorophenol in tannery, lignin in pulp and paper mill, melanodinin in distillery, dioxin-like compounds, ecostrogens, emerging contaminants in solid sludge, landfill, leaches, pesticide in agriculture field, and recovery of nitrogen and phosphorus in wastewater performed. Persistent of phthalates, risk assessment and characterization carried out. Lignocellulose valorization by bacteria and fungi for colorful removal, biopulp, bioethanol, biobleaching and chemicals. Environmental microbiome characterization for structural and functional genomics analysis for greenhouse gases, syncretization for biomaterials. He has published more than 250 research papers in peer-reviewed journals. chapter in books, 2 textbook, 4 patent and technologies. He is the member of editorial board and reviewing committee of several journals. He completed 22 research product as principal investigator, 28 PhD, 2 MPhil and 14 postgraduate thesis and dissertation. All these are completed under his supervision, which include he is. It is a very great honor for sir that he is included in the list of world ranking of 2% scientists over the world. That sir's ranking is 503. So it is our pleasure that in today's FDP sir is with us. Over to you, sir. Please. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you very much for such a good words. What I can do that first of all I can go for the presentation. So is it visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
It is not.
Still not, sir.
Okay, so I am always facing this kind of problem. That is why a little bit. So what I can do? So I will go to the open the tray, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I mean, there is a share content. Control Shift E.
Control.
Control Shift E.
Control Shift E.
Huh.
Oh my God. CTRL, isn't it? Yeah, Shift
Yeah,
E.
yeah. CTRL.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
CTRL
Yes.
and Shift and E.
Yes, sir.
It's not coming.
Still not coming, sir.
Should I go for the sharing?
Yes, sir. Share it. Share it.
So, are you getting? No.
No, sir. I mean, I guess your PPT is with us now. So I'm sharing it with Nitin, sir. So he'll be sharing the screen with you.
No, I have search PPT.
Yeah. So
No,
Nitin,
but
sir,
that is
please you share
that,
the PPT.
no.
I will try.
Yeah.
No, that is not. That is not total.
Okay. Okay.
So
So if you can send us the PPT, so I can ask Nitin sir to share this PPT to participant on the
all
screen.
right. Okay, that I can do.
Yes, sir.
That I can do. This type of problem is always there. In fact.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I am sending this as PPT, fresh PPT,
Yeah.
because that PPT is not a complete PPT. You told me
Okay.
that you send me. Okay, so I am sending it to you. Sending. IST. It's 24.31. Anyway, it will reach to you.
That is the size of file, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can share it with Google Drive.
Okay, no, I've already sent it to you. Let's.
Had you sent it to mail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Message sent already. Okay. It is already sent. Okay.
Okay, sir. Is it sent on mail now?
Yeah, yeah. Vikas mail, huh?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. I'm just forwarding it to Nitin sir so that he can share it.
Okay.
Nitin sir, please check your mail. I have forwarded it. Yes, it is coming, sir. Oh no, not.
अभी नहीं आई भाई.
Yeah, Nitin sir, I have sent you mail. Please check.
Sir, I am checking.
So it is not visible as yet, huh?
Yes,
Again,
sir, not visible.
not visible. Again, I tried, in fact.
Yes.
I have not got the mail, Vikas sir.
Now it is coming, sir.
Now it is coming.
Yeah, sir.
Is
Now
it?
it is coming.
Now it
Now
is
it
coming.
is
Okay.
visible.
Okay. Yeah. I think that now you can move forward. I can go. Okay. Now it's all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think that's okay. Then I can start.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, sir.
Is it all right? Isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Perfectly all right, sir.
Okay. So I can start.
Yes,
So
sir.
Sure, sir. Sure, please.
thank you, Vikas ji. Thank you, Nitin. For Nitin ji for good words that you told everybody. Basically, I told you that my work, in fact, that related to this environmental microbiology and biotechnological aspects, and what we did it that we have gone for the degradation, the mitigation, detoxification of natural and xenobiotic compounds, and intention is that how you can degrade it and how you can get the product. So you are engineers, this type of thing. So we have applied several type of things here. In fact, you are discussing about the waste, in fact, for several days, and you told that altogether 13 lectures that you have covered in waste management, in fact. So what I'm going to do, that I will tell you a little bit about the how, what is the waste and how you can go for the management. I will focus more on the pulp and paper industrial problems, that how you can solve it. And because the waste is so diversified and several type of things is involved in there. So little bit it will be more complicated. That is why I decided to focus on only one aspect, the pulp and paper mill, where there is a lot of problem of the toxic compounds in pulp and paper industries, that I will tell you later. And also there is a lot of possibilities of the product, biorefinery and all these things. That is why I have selected this topic. So the environment that already indicated there, that problems. One of the significant things that the waste is generating our civilized society is because of this, you can say the biota, of course, the plant is major, animals and the microbes are there. So after all, this is all in the air, water and soil. It is getting contaminated because of that one. And if you are the waste that you can see it here, so here that the waste is, this is a bagasse that you can see it here, bagasse, and this solid waste dumping sites. So this dumping sites is somehow and somewhere it is getting into leachate like thing, leachate, this coloring substances that you can see it in the municipal sludge also, municipal waste also. Sometimes Okhla landfills in Balsara and several places. Today's newspaper also in Delhi, there are several things are written about the waste, in fact. So this is what exactly you are getting. The moreover, the problem is the greenhouse gases, that how it is reacting with that one is also very significant thing. And also the engineers, they should think about that how they can develop the technology. That is why technology is important, and technology development is very important, particularly for the basic science people, that you can say natural science people, and engineering component, how you will bring it there, and then you can solve the problems. One thing is very important, that if you are talking about the plant product, like the major coverage is there, lignocellulosics, then chances of getting the phenol is much more. However, day before yesterday, there is a newspaper, this Dainik Jagran, if you can see sometime, you will find the chlorine concentration in atmosphere. This is very dangerous, because this chlorine is what will happen, that will react with the aromatic compounds, and then it will produce sometime this very dangerous compound like dioxin like compound, that you can see it here, the 2-benzo-p dioxin in the first slide itself. That how the phenols and chlorine persistence in the environment, they will react and they will form the chlorinated congeners of the dioxins, dibenzofurans. Dibenzofurans is one of the most toxic compounds in the environment. This is also present in the pulp and paper industries. That is why the remediation or the utilization of the lignocellulosics and also the product is very important here. Now, if you can go for the overall scenario of the environmental problems, I already narrated that global warming gases, water contaminants, contamination, because the sludge from the municipal waste, in fact, you will get water contamination. That news, it is also in the newspaper that how they have contaminated near the Okla and Balsara and several places, 10 to 15 kilometers. The land is contaminated and water is not drinkable, not just not potable, and nobody can drink the water also. So this is the major issue that engineers should think about that one. Now, of course, we are sitting here for the solid waste management problem, industrial waste. My topic is, and that too focusing the pulp and paper industries. See, this is what exactly you can see altogether 17 industries are there, which is considered as the most heavily polluting industries in India. Okay, so out of these 70s, where is the possibilities lies? That is why I selected this topic. In fact, you know that this study where there's a melanidine is there. It's a shared sugar content. It is. It's coloring materials, and the coloring materials is very high, more than 60,000 sometimes, and difficult to degrade. So what technology it will be? Dye and dye intermediates. The coloring dye is a very significant problem in several places in Gujarat area, and everywhere whole India has problem. Pulp and paper is one of them that I am discussing more about that one. Then the tannery problems is also there. You can see the right side, the Ranipet district of the Tamil Nadu, which is the one of the most polluting polluting sites in the world out of the 7 sites. This is because of the tannery problems, the leather tanning. And one thing is very important that if you have this, of course, the chemical industries or chemical industries, they are utilizing more water is much more. Pulp and paper is coming into the second, where the water content is much more. So one hand, in the processing, when you will go, then you will learn that if you will go to processing, then the raw materials with this water, they are getting contaminated. And if you will use huge amount of water, the chances of pollution is much more. This is the problem. That is why. Okay, so this is, you can see the pulp and paper mill effluent. Here, this looks like a completely, you can say this, you can say sometime the flood is coming. You can see these things. This is all effluent is coming, and this is the this soil site from where it is getting. There's a lot of possibilities is here in this region. In fact, the pulp and paper industries. This is the molasses that I told you just now. That the distillery industry, from the sugarcane molasses and molasses from the distillation, they are making it. The petroleum waste is a big issue that you must have heard about. Environmental biotechnology and environmental problems. It has created a lot of waste. In fact, in Brooklyn area and lot of possibilities. The tannery, I told you, the problem is because the chromium and pentachlorophenol, in fact, and waste dumping site, if it is there, and you are talking about the waste dumping site. So after the leaching, you can see the bottom, there is a lot of coloring materials is coming out. And this coloring material is contaminating the water. This is the major issue. So these are the some of the issues that one should think about the waste management system, where technology is required. Some more technology. Nobody is thinking about this technology. Okay, another possibilities I can tell you that another problems that I can tell you that is if you are talking about the solid waste management, you can see that finding dignity in discard. This is what. But most significant thing is that if you are making some dumping sites, then the major problem is arising that land use. If the quantity of the waste will increase, then what will happen to the land? From where the land will come? This is also a major issue. So not only the problem is increasing day by day, but management practices are also important. And how you can develop the management practices, that is very important. Possibilities that you have to search it, and technology development, you have to go for that one. Okay. So this is exactly little bit I will discussing about the solid generation and what are the possibilities are there. Then I will focus on my problem and my things that I am discussing today lecture. In fact, today presentation we will discuss later on, and I will tell you the major possibilities are where. So you can see that there are several sources of the solid waste. So we have the industrial waste that I have selected as a topic here. Then we have the sources are agriculture also, the municipal also, mining also. So agriculture, after agriculture, there is a mining is there much more, and then we have the industrial waste, and then the municipal waste is coming into our society. Okay, and after all, whatever the contaminant is there, right, you have seen it in the earlier slides also, first slide, I mean, that if the contaminants is coming, it is going to the air by vaporization and all these things, and then after condensation or some mechanism, the physico-chemical mechanism coming to water, and then it is going to soil and solid waste and contaminating the whole things. So this is one of the things. Second thing, if you can go for technological aspects, certainly there are several types of the natural waste. So natural compounds, you know that we will discussing that natural compounds are mainly from the plant sources. The plant is lignocellulosic is the basic structure of the plant, and that is why there is a possibilities. And also what is happening that you are getting the xenobiotic compounds also, because in processing and several aspects, xenobiotic compounds are also coming into the waste, and that is why it is getting problematic problems to the society, in fact. In technological angles, we have to check that whether it is a biodegradable and non-biodegradable. If it is biodegradable, certainly how you can go for degradation, and if it is non-biodegradable, you have to think about some different mechanism. Next thing is important that we have to see that whether it is hazardous, it is how dangerous it is, and also if some radioactive chemicals or non-hazardous. So these type of things that I think that somebody must have, you have already discussed about these things. So this is exact scenario of the agriculture waste, industrial waste, hazardous waste, construction waste, municipal waste. How much quantity or how much percent of the sources also and types of the waste is coming into our society. So industrial waste, so that you can say majorly what we can observe that. The lignocellulosic waste are the major component of all the waste. Of course, it is depending upon what are the major source that is there. So this is basically solid waste management practices the people are doing, the collection, transportation, processing, and disposal. I will not go in detail because I have to more focus on the technological angle. So this is what exactly in the initial stage I am telling you. We can go for this is also a type of this the scenario that is there, that the solid waste management practices are starting. You know that people are using, you have to use 3R, in fact, that's reduce, reuse, and recycle. So these are some of the concepts that I think that you must have already is known to everybody. So this type of things is important over here. And after all, if you can go for the recycle, it is go to the landfills and leachate management has become the big issue nowadays. So this is all important. Okay, if in the solid waste utilization, in fact, if it is the non-biodegradable and biodegradable that I told you, in non-biodegradable, I think that more physical or chemical or engineering aspects are there, and people are using it. If there is a glass, if there is a metal, if there is a plastics, so this type of things is important, and for that there are several techniques are involved and they are using it. So I will, this is the what exactly. And the second thing is the biodegradable. In biodegradable, of course, it is the aerobic and anaerobic situation will come. And if there is aerobic situation, you have the product something else. If you have the anaerobic situation, something else. That's methane and biogas that you know. Composting is one of the things where there is a lot of possibilities. If there is you have the lot of solid waste, then the composting possibilities is much more. It is possible that if you can develop the technology, then through the composting process, you have the nutrients that you will get, and you can enrich your soil, and all these things is important. So these are some of the things is significant. I told you in addition to that one, in this solid waste, there is chances of entering the emerging contaminants. Now people are using several types of the xenobiotic compounds, certain types of the emerging contaminants, because we are living in a civilized society. You are using a lot of pesticides, the pharmaceuticals, personal cares, industrial compounds in our society, societies, in fact, our daily life that I mean. And once you are using it in daily life, what will happen? They will enter into the groundwater, they will enter into sludge, and then they will percolate. And these compounds, of course, it is present in less amount, but it is very dangerous. I told you one of the story of the dioxins, which is produced by pulp and paper industries by chlorination, that I will tell you later on. So, so this type of things is significant. Okay, this is a very simple thing that solid waste management practices that I told you in earlier slides also segregation, collection, reuse, transportation, disposal. Landfills the peoples are doing and landfills are creating a lot of problem. So before going to the landfills, it's better to go for the biological treatment of organic waste. That's aerobic, vermicomposting, anaerobic digestion that I told you, and thermal treatment is predominantly there are people. But the percentage of thermal treatment that I told you in earlier slide, how much percentage is. So this is exact scenario of the solid waste management practices in our society. Let me focus now our problems of the industrial that I told you, the pulp and paper industries. What you can see, the right side, there is a significant amount of the pulp and paper. It's a lot of in pulp and paper. In fact, they utilize natural resources. You know, the plant they are using woody plant and non-woody plant. They are utilizing non-woody plant. You know, the bagasses they are using. Lot of bagasse industries has come up because of the cutting the trees is not good, or always people are saying about the paper problems. It is linked with the plant and everything. But bagasse they are using. But you can see the right side on the top. This is the bagasse industries figures that you can see it here, photos. They are effluent treatment plants that you can see it here. A lot of bagasse debris has come into the effluent. Now the question is, this is the possibilities there where you can develop the technology. Okay, so this is, and together with the natural resources, you are using lot of inorganic and organic compounds also. Inorganic compounds in the processing that you can see in the bottom where you have the wood raw materials, then you have the wood handling. This means that you are chipping it, and then after that you are pulping process, you are getting a lot of chemicals you are adding here, and also possibilities of the biological entities here also, that is known as the biopulping. And then once you are going for the pulping, you will get the bleaching process because you need a white paper. So bleaching, lot of chlorine you are using. You can use the oxygen also, you can use the hydrogen peroxide also, and several things you can use it, but cost expensive. The chlorine is very cheap, that is why the peoples are using. After all, on the, if you can go for the right side again, you will see the after treatment you have a lot of debris that you are getting, and from this debris you will get lot of chemicals. So you can see the right side, the how this linkage is there. I will tell you later on the lignocellulosics, lignin molecules. Lignin is converted into the chlorinated phenolics, chlorinated glycols, chlorinated catechol. So they have chances of converting into some toxic compound. That is why my focus will be to understand the natural compounds and xenobiotic compounds, degradation, remediation, and detoxification. Okay. This is the overall scenario of the lignocellulosics, in fact, that possibility that I'm telling you, and the periodization is concerned. So first of all, you have the raw materials in the form of natural or anthropogenic. You have the processes of the treatment. So in this, you can see this in between, you have the sources of solid waste, bio waste that you can see sometime, and lignocellulosics. You have the go for the thermal chemical conversion. You will get a lot of bio oils, biochars, and biogas. Then you can go for anaerobic and aerobic process. You have the lot of product, bioethanol, biodiesels, biofuels, bioplastics, biomaterials, and all these things that you will get it here. Biohydrogen, biomethanation by anaerobic process. I will prove my experiment through my experimentation that it is possible to develop the technology in the lab, and also you can scale up. You are engineers, you can scale up. One more thing that I want to tell you, that nowadays there is life cycle assessment methods in order to find out the economics or value added products cost benefit ratio, that I mean. And you can start from the sources, and you can go for the end product, and you can go for the life cycle assessment, and overall the energy intensive and everything you can calculate here. So these are some of the things. Okay, now let's go to the steps involved in the manufacturing of the pulp in paper industry. I told you earlier slide also, you have the wood or non-wood, non-woody or woody. Okay, then you can go for the digestion, and you will get a lot of the contaminants. The right side you have the contaminants that you can see, or contaminants or the pollution load that you can see it here. But in the left side you can see the steps of the process. You have the digestion process. Here the peoples are using both in the kraft pulping, their acidic pulping, and there are several types of the pulping peoples are using. Okay, so once if you have used the sodium hydroxide and sodium sulfide, that is the kraft pulping, this kraft liquor. In fact, it is kraft pulping. It is known as the black liquor is there this lignin content is removed, and then we have the lot of the cellulose and hemicellulose content will be there. So that is the pulp, and then after the pulping, you will go for the bleaching purposes. Here you will use lot of oxygen. Chlorine is very cheap. That's why the people are doing chlorine. And once you will use the chlorine, I told you in earlier slide, you will get lot of the chlorinated lignin or lignosulfonics that containing the chlorine. So that is very dangerous because the chlorine containing compound are the recalcitrant compound. It persists in the environment because it is not degraded so easily. And I will tell you that also that how it is possible to degrade it. That is intention. And then we will go for the paper making. A lot of compression and all these things the people can apply and they can do it. So let's focus on the lignocellulosic waste first of all. Now, the science in lignocellulose is people start talking about the secretome analysis, platform chemicals analysis. We got a lot of possible platform chemicals. In our laboratory, what we did it, I told you this is the forest cover and that is used in the pulp and paper. 50% of the biomass estimated is utilized for the various biotechnological application, but 50% of the biomass is not utilized. That is the waste, in fact. And that is really creating the problem out of the totals for this 3870 million hectares of the forest cover area that is there in the whole world. In fact, so you can see that half of this residue remains unused. This problem, the chances of, I told you, the getting the food, feed, energy, and other commercial items is easy to get from the cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin valorization. Lignin is the major contaminant because it gives the strength to the plant. But in one hand, it is not degraded easily. That I will tell you later on. But another hand, nowadays the technology developed and they are trying their best, in fact, at how they can get the product from the lignin valorization. So lignin valorization is a very important aspect, and most of the laboratories are very much escapist, in fact, in the tendency. Their tendency is that because lignin is not degraded, so how we can go for the biovalorization lignin. That is why I will give the focus a little bit more on the lignin aspect so that people can do the research, in fact. You can see the right side that there is a lignocellulose, that how it is getting converted into the cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, because lignocellulose is made up of cellulose. Cellulose, I will tell you later on and what exactly it is. In our laboratory, we work extensively and we use this Leucaena lysophilia. This is the plant that is very spread in the JNU campus. A whole Arabri range, you will get a lot of Leucaena lysophilia. Possibilities is because the lignin content is less. So if lignin content is less in Leucaena, the chances of getting the cellulose and hemicellulose is more. Lignin is a problem, not degraded. The chances of getting the cellulose and hemicellulose biovalorization is important. So you have to make the wood. You have the bagasse, debris also, sawdust, landfill leachate. So chances are that how you can develop technology. We use this fungi like Saccharophyllum, Phenorochaete, Soredia, Saccharophyllum communi, Vesoclamasis nivea, Trichoderma, Bacillus, Enterobacter, Pandoria, Burkholderia, Cupribidus, and all these things that we have used in our laboratory, and we have got a lot of secretome enzymatic proteomics platform chemicals that we got it, and with that one we have gone for the biovalorization of the lignocellulose that you can see it here. So this is exact scenario of the lignocellulosic ecosystem sometimes, because ecologists can discuss about that one, because I told you that lignocellulose is made up of the cellulose. Hemicellulose is known as xylene molecules. This is C5 carbon, so it is, and lignin is three things. So three more component of the lignocellulose is there. The enzymes is degraded, cellulose is degraded by enzyme known as cellulases, which is multi-complex enzyme, and xylene is also degraded. This is how you can go for the biovalorization processes. And lignin structure is a little bit complicated structure it is. In addition to that one, we have the cellulosomes concept is there. So this is how it is degraded, in fact. So let's go to the structure of the lignocellulose. Cellulose is made up of the linear chain of the beta-1,4 linked T-glucose molecules connected with the glycosidic bonds. So you have to cut the glycosidic bonds. Altogether in the cellulose, there is a 14,000 beta-D-glucose residue are present, which you have to cleave it, you have to cut it, and then you have to get it the product, in fact. And hemicellulose is also known as xylene that I told you. This is the heteroxylens, and because this branching is there, and it is also made up of the this is made up of this xylenopyronoside residues. This is known xylose. Sometimes you can say also. So xylose is a C5 carbon, and glucose in the top one. Cellulose is the C6 carbons. So these are some of the things that the lignin is in fact made up of. This is a you can see the complex structure of the lignin. This is made up of the oxyphenyl propanoids units, in fact, connected to carbon-carbon or carbon ester linkage. This ester linkage is very difficult by the biological entities because you have to clip the bonds. And it is formed by the random coupling of the coniferyl alcohols, tenepyl alcohols, and coumaryl alcohols. In addition to that alcohols, you have the grasses, you have monocots, you have the dicots, and you have the gymnosperm, you have the others plant, in fact, that they have. The structure varies, in fact. The lignin content chemically is varies from plant to plant. So there is a lot of possibilities also getting the valorization. Well, if you have the lignocellulose, we have the cellulose. Cellulose is converted into glucose. You can make the pulp. You can get the glucose. From the glucose, there is a lot of possibilities. Ethanol is well known. And you have the hemicellulose. From hemicellulose, you will get xylose, and you will get the furfuryls and the pulp. And lignin, from the lignin, I will tell you there are a lot of possibilities of lignin, but the only thing that you should have the technology. So from the lignin, you will get vanillin, gallic acid, pharmaceuticals, herbicides, anti-foaming agent, household properties they have. So this is what exactly it is. But prior to that one, you have to develop the degradation processes. Before 1960, people were using the physical methods they have adopted. Temperature, milling, whatever that radiation even. So a lot of physical processes they use to degrade the hemicellulose. Then the chemical methods like the acidic, basic, ammonia, everything they used. And then biological entities came after the 1960 in order to degrade this type of compound. So this is the how this biological system is used. Both this, this biological entities is divided in three parts. We have the bacteria, we have the archaea, and you have the eukaryotes. They have the potency, in fact, and from there you can get the enzymes, in fact, in order to degrade the lignocellulosic molecules. So if somebody has interest, they can read a little bit more, they can go on depth, and then they can learn. So let's go to the, this is the cellulose by enzyme celluloses. This I told you that beta D glucose molecules are there. So this is how a structure looks like of the cellulose molecules. So you have to degrade. If you have the wood, you have to degrade it. Okay, so the enzymes will not directly degrade it. So you have to go for the pre-hydrolysis processes. And during the pre-hydrolysis, I told you that you can use the acid, you can use the alkali, you can use the ammonia, so that the structure will be very fragile and enzyme will enter inside that one. And then you can use the enzymes. Enzymes is the biological entities that you have seen in earlier slides. There are a lot of possibilities. You have to select the bacteria, you have to select the fungi, which is releasing these cellulases enzymes, and they can degrade. One more thing is important, that if you are working with the enzyme, you need thermophilic, alkalophilic multiplicity, because they have significance. Thermophilic, this means that if you are working on some industrial scale, you need thermophilic bacteria or fungi or microorganisms, I can say in totality. Then it's maybe because in the industries, condition is always, most of the time condition is alkaline. So it should be the alkali treatment. That is why. Multiplicity, because cellulases, I told you, it is the it is complex enzymes, in fact. So you need a specific cutting. There is a lot of disadvantage of using the chemicals, because chemicals, what they do, the acid, alkali, and ammonia, you can get it, the cell glucose molecules, but it will destroy the crystalline structure. It is not so precise action. That is why enzymes people are searching. So if it is like that, then you will get the product that is ethanol. You will get a lot of product feed. You will get food, commercial products, and all these things that you will get. This is the generalized, in fact, the mechanism of enzymatic degradation of cellulose. You can say there are three different enzymes. We say it the indogluconase, first of all, Indo-1,4-glucan molecules, then exogluconase in short form, and then is a beta-glucosidase, in fact, and this beta-glucosidase converts cellobiose into the glucose. And once you have the glucose, you can go for the fermentation process and you will get the ethanol. So this is what exactly, in fact, the problem is, but there is always end product inhibition, which limits the ethanol production. There is a lot of possibilities in ethanol production, but lignin is one of the things that is creating. There's a hindrance in the structure. And second thing is the end product inhibition. That is why people are not getting a lot of ethanol production. So that is why ethanol production is highly intensive and it is not cost effective so far. Another structure I told you, the hemicellulose degradation. I told you the enzyme known as the xylanase. This is the heteropolymer cities. Of course, xylose monomers are there. So this means that if you have, it's not only the exoxylanase, Okay, but xylosidase, two different enzymes. But in addition to that one, there are several enzymes. That is the galactosidase, manosidase, manase, and several enzymes are there because it is breaking the heteropolymers. If you will break it, then you will get xylose. It is possible that if you have the D-xylose, then you will go for the PPP pathway, and then you will get the glucose. This means that if you will go for the ethanol production, that a case study that I am telling you, so glucose fermentation, you will get the ethanol. But so the chances of ethanol production is not more. One of the possibilities is the xylose. And once you have the pathway, then you can get the PPP pathway, will get the glucose. So C5 carbons can be converted into C6 carbons, and then you can go for the fermentation. This is the one of the mechanism. But this is so tedious that it's difficult to do it. People are doing it. No, there is no doubt. Here also, there is a lot of possibility, a lot of biovalorization. Yeah, you will get the pulp and paper, biopulping and biobleaching. In fact, pulping, if you will get enzyme granulase, you will use. So then you will get biopulp. If you will get biobleaching, you can use in addition in place of the chlorine. You will get you can use this gyalinase enzymes, and once you are using it, what will happen? The chlorine will not enter into the effluent, and there is not formation of any chlorolignins or chlorocatacols and chloroglycols and dioxins like compounds in the environment. In addition to that one, there is a lot of products that you can see it here. This is what exactly in our laboratory that we made the ethanol in the lab. So we have the bagasse, you can see it here, and also the pulp and paper effluent one can take from the bagasse. And then we have gone for the degradation of the enzymes. We have used our bacterial strains, and we got this ethanol that you can see it here. The fermentation, this is a distillation process. We got the ethanol. Now, in addition to that one, there is a possibility in anaerobic system. If you will go for that one, you will get the co-production of hydrogen, methane, and volatile fatty acids also. So this is exactly the biovalorization process. And you can see we can get this process, lot of cellulases enzyme, gyalinase enzyme, lignines. Now it will come later on, lignin enzyme. So all these things is there. I told you the major challenges of the lignin valorization is the major challenge because lignin is a very difficult compound structure, oxyphenyl propanide units connected to carbon-carbon and carbon-ester linkage. So linkage of the ester is very difficult to degrade, so difficult to bond cleavage. Then the physical properties also important. Sometimes some lignin is water soluble, sometimes not water soluble. So this is the problematic. One lignin is not same as another lignin. Depolymerization, sometimes after degradation also lignin is again converting back and it is cross reacting. So it is creating problem. But particularly if somebody is working on the color problem, color removal, they are facing this type of problems. So they have to think about that one. So I told you the lignin is made up of the conophoryle, coumaryl, alcohols, and all these things. So I told you before 1970, lignin, there is no information of lignin degradation. People use the C14 levels lignin degradation. Electron microscopy help. Lignin degrading fungi. Nowadays, a lot of bacteria is also available, which is degrading the lignin. In our case, we worked on the lignin. In the earlier slides, I have told you some type of bacteria like Pandoria species, Burkholderia species, Cuprividus species, we use for the lignin degradation. I will tell you about that one. So this is exactly the common inter-unit linkage found in the complex three-dimensional lignin molecules. So steps in lignin degradation is you have to break it C alpha and C beta cleavage, C alpha then oxidation, then aromatic ring cleavage, then cleavage of the aryl glycerol beta aryl ether bonds. So this is the steps are already then there in the centrally located that you can see it here. So this type of cleavage is very important because you need particular enzyme in fact to degrade it, whether your bacteria or microRNA, they have this enzyme or not, that you have to verify. You have to go for genetics nowadays, whole genome sequencing and whole proteomic analysis, and all these things is important. Let's go to the major bacterial enzyme responsible for funneling the lignin. This means that steps that you have, there were several types of the lignins I told you. So it will go for funneling. Funneling means that steps 1, step 2, step 3, carbon dioxide, mineralization, all these things. And the enzymes is lignin peroxidase. Earlier case cellulases, gylinases, here lignin peroxidases. Then we have the manganese. Enzyme known is the ligninase. But these lignin content, if it is, they have certain characteristics, then it is the lignin peroxidase, it is a manganese peroxidase, it is lacase. Upper two is the peroxidase. Lacase is oxidase. Then we have the glyoxyl oxidase. Then there is a several enzyme people reported, the glutathione dependent beta esterase. This is another enzyme, superoxide dismutase, catalase peroxidases, several dehydrogenase, because this type of enzymes presence is very important in degradation of the lignin molecules. Okay, so this is exactly the lignin polarization challenges and prospects. You can see it here. If you have the lignin, that structure that you have seen it earlier, if you are degrading it, you will get a lot of renewable chemicals that you can see the left side. So once you are degrading, you will get a lot of intermediates. And once you have the intermediates, it is possibilities that either you develop the bacteria by genetic breeding, genetic recruitment, or you select certain bacteria which has enzymes. Once it is, then it is possible that you will get a lot of product, biofluoridation product that you can see it here. You will get a lot of surfactants, you will get hydrogels, you will get PHA, these bioplastics and surfactants and several things. Including that, you can go for the aviation fuel also from the lignin. So this is also indicated in the left side. This is the green aviation biofuels the people has developed so recently from the lignin molecules, because lignin is very high. I didn't told you earlier that in the lignocellulosic molecules in the plant, 40% is mainly it is the cellulose, and hemicellulose is 30%, and 20% to 24% is sometimes varies plant to plant is the lignin molecules. So this means that if this is the such a huge quantity of the lignin is sometimes varies from, you can say, 24 to 30%. So chances and the lignin is not degraded in the solid waste site also. So developing a technology is very important here. So this is the biofluoridation prospect of the lignin. This is you can get the polyhydroxyalkylamide, the PHA, lipids and bioproducts, and the PHA. If you have the PHA, this is a bioplastics that is possible from the lignin that you can get it here. You can get it convert the lignin into triacyl glycerol, and from the triacyl glycerol you will get the polyhydroxybutyrate production. You will get the vanillin. You will get the meconic acid. So once you have the vanillin, meconic acid, and several types of the intermediates, it is possible that you can have another bacteria which will convert it into the another product that is there. So this is completely engineering aspect. So once you have developed in the laboratory situation, then you can go for a scale-up and you can make the things. In our laboratory, I'm giving you the example of one Pandoria species. We isolated, in fact, from the wood, and then what we did it that we have gone for the degradation of this wood. In fact, this is the Kraft lignin powder that they make it, and then they have taken it in the minimal salt media, and then they degraded with the Pandoria species, and you can see the control in left side. Then you have the treated one for 3 days and treated there for 7 days. So what you can see it here on the top, that how this Pandoria species in fact degraded in fact the Kraft lignin. You can structurally you can say it's completely. We have a lot of information and data available. In order to substitute or order to confirm these things, we identified this particular bacterial isolate as a Pandoria. The 16S RNA sequencing that you can see on the bottom, we suggested that this particular isolate is the Pandoria species. So what we did it that we have gone for the whole genome sequencing of the Pandoria species. We have altogether total genome basis was 6.37 million base. In fact, that genome is already submitted. If somebody has information, sorry, somebody want to know about that one, the SSN number is already indicated. So this is, you can see the circus plot of the Pandoria species where they have the lot of genes we have reported. In fact, this is already published. If somebody has interest, he can go to the Google site, Google Scholar site, and he can pick up this publication. They can read it. Okay, then what we did it that we have gone for the analysis of gene of the Pandoria species. We used the KAG and Cas pathway and altogether we got the 5568 protein coding genes of Pandoria and 2590 genes of different functional by we deciphered through the Cas pathway, and genes mainly categorized into metabolism, cellular. This is there, but in addition to that one, they have the genes for the lignin degradation also. So this is the classification of protein and their abundance in different functional groups in the Pandoria species that you can see it here. So putative lignin aromatic compound degradant genes are available, which is responsible for the funneling into peripheral pathways. I told you in central intermediate, I told you that if you have the complex structure, I will tell you later on also that we have the peripheral pathway, and then we have the central pathway, and then we have the ketoadipate pathway, that how the aromatic compounds or major complex structure is degraded in the environment. I will tell you later on. Here you can at least you can think that there is a peripheral pathway, central pathway metabolism, and there is a lot of intermediates that you are getting, and then you are getting. You can see here that how this number of proteins, benzoate degradation, and lot of the other enzymes are involved, which is taking part in the lignin degradation. So this type of the enzyme is there in degradation. It can be exploited for several applications, in fact. So in addition, this is also the omics analysis of the genomes and lignin degradation that you can see. It is already cluster gene coding number is 14.1 and 13.4 for the lignin degradation. So this is the vanillin O methylase oxidoreductase. You can see in the centrally located. And they have a proto-catechu 8, 3, 4, 5 oxygenase beta units. So some of the enzymes are there, which is a lignin degradase. O-vanillate deoxygenase, oxidoreductase, and then the hydrogenases, oxyoacetyl reductase. Later it is coming, oxopentifate pathway. So this is how lignin is degraded. They have the presence of lignin degrading genes in the Pandoria species that you can see just now. You have seen it just now earlier slide. It is the same thing. This genome analysis revealed oxidoreductase, so that is DIP, is lactase. Lactase I told you earlier already. This is they have glutathione reductase, etherase I told you, superoxide dismutase, catalase I told you earlier slides. They are responsible for lignin degradation. In addition to that one, they are genes from the respiratory mechanism, transcriptional regulators, aromatic compound degraders, transporter facilities, and degradation processes. And in addition to that one, this strain has PHA synthesis machinery also that we will see later slides. So we have also, in addition to whole genome sequencing, we have gone for the proteomics analysis, and where there is a aromatic polymers lignin, Kraft lignin that you have used, and we compare it with the vanillic acid as a single aromatic compounds degradation. When we have this means that we have grown our bacteria Pandoria species in the presence of the Kraft lignin one, and second one is the vanillic acids. And then we have gone for the proteomic analysis. We found that altogether in Kraft lignin there are 78 expressional proteins, expression of the proteins in Kraft lignin and vanillic acid, and their distribution. So this is how we can calculate it, and we identified that how this strain is significant as a proteomic analysis basis also, that they have the gene for the lignin degradation. So this is the geo analysis of protein expressed on the KL and vanillin, and they have both this metabolic function, then cellular function, and all these proteins, and then transcription and all these things are there. So this is a differential expression of the proteins that I told you that you can see it here. They have the major, the phenylacetic acid benzoyl coenzyme oxygenases. They have the DIP type peroxidase enzymes that I told you earlier also. They have the vanillate deoxy demethylases, quinone oxidoreductase enzymes is based on this differential protein expression in the Pandoria species. This clearly indicated that this bacteria, they have the pathway for lignin degradation. So this is the how exactly, and I told you now that we have the central how it is. We have the topmost, we have the protocatechuate. Lignin is degraded into protocatechuate and catechol. This is the peripheral pathway, it has come to the central pathway. So then we have the central pathway, it has gone for the beta ketopeptidate in all lactone pathway. So this is the below ground, this is the lower pathway. And then we have that is getting converted into different types of the compounds that you can see structurally we have identified by GCMS analysis. Then you have the triacyl glycerides and polyhydroxy acetic acid formation that we have got it. And on the basis of that one, we found that this bacteria can make the polyhydroxy alkylonate. Genetic analysis also indicated that they have the gene, in fact, for the formation of the polyhydroxy alkylonate that you can see it here. Two genes clusters were identified, which produces the PHA production. So this is you can see actually the biofluoridation processes. And in addition to that one, we also have gone for the polyhydroxide produced by Pandoria species. You can see the Nile red fluorescence. You can see the completely the lipid accumulation in Pandoria species. On the bottom that you can see it here, the white things that is there is nothing but it's the lipids content. So this lipid is getting converted into the PHA granules inside. So sometimes you can say that PHA also will give, but we have to go for the structural verifications confirmation. And this structural configuration of NMR study, FTIR, and then GCMS, they indicated that of course it is the PHA. In addition to that one, this is what exactly valorize and lignin bioplastics, in fact, production. They have the gene that I told you, that accumulation of the gene. So this indicated the production of that one. So overall, we can say that this studies, the lignocellulose lignin valorization processes, they have in fact the craft lignins in comparison. They have the gene, they have the protein, and they made this exactly the polyhydroxy alkylamide as a valorization product. In fact, in this one, so this is how you can go for the biodegradation and biovalorization. So this is what exactly. I told you one more thing is important, that in addition to the lignocellulosics, in fact, I told you the emergence of the contaminants or toxic compounds by the pulp and paper industries is really challenging, because here there is a chances of formation of lot of dioxin-like compounds, because if the lignin is degraded, then you can see the right side, lignin is getting converted into chlorinated phenols. We have the phenols, and if you will go for bleaching, chlorine integrated, so we have the chlorophenols. Then we have the chlorinated glycols. Then you have the chlorinated catechol that you have seen it earlier also, the lignin one. Simple structure, but here is the chlorinated. And once you have the chlorinated, we have detected in pulp and paper. We have extensively worked in the Century Pulp and Paper with Lal Kuan. That time I was in G.V. Pant University, and we have spent a lot of time in pulp and paper industry. We developed the technology also for them in pulp and paper industries. So we detected this monochlorophenol, dichlorophenol, trichlorophenol, pentachlorophenol. Pentachlorophenol you can see in the centrally located, which is very dangerous, because altogether 5 chlorine is there. So once there is a 5 chlorine, so removal of the chlorine is very difficult. There is won't be any oxygenation, so degradation is difficult. On you can bottom side, you can see the left side, right side, you can see the how dioxin is formed. And if there is a dioxin, the another compound like dibenzofuran, top you can say right bottom side, dibenzofuran compound. So this dioxin and dibenzofurans is highly dangerous compounds, highly recalcitrant and toxic. So once it is a chlorinated container, so you can see it here, highly toxic and recalcitrant one, the tetrachloro p-benzodiaphenoxy. Perhaps I told you this is the one of the worst chemical, toxically and toxicity wise in the environment. And the concentration of the dioxins getting is also very difficult. So this is what exactly, now the question is that how to, so this is what exactly the emergence of the compound, emergence of the emerging contaminant in solid waste, particularly and pulp and paper industries that I already told you earlier. So how to remove these dioxin-like compounds from the environment is a real challenge. So you have to find out the basically chemical structure. You have to go for persistent chemical compound. Then you have to develop the microorganism degrading potency, similar way that I told you in the case of lignin. Then metabolites, catabolic enzymes and genes. Then bioremediation strategy and detoxification. We will be focusing on these things in the last 15 minutes. Next 15 minutes. Okay. So this is the steps for the POPs analysis. The dioxin-like compounds is a total POPs, persistent organic pollutants. Dibenzofurans and dioxins and chlorinated phenols, they are all are covering under the POPs, persistent organic pollutants, in addition to other one. Okay, so these are the steps. So I have 15 minutes time, isn't it? I have 15 minutes time.
Still there's time.
How much time?
It is half an hour, sir.
Okay, then it's fine. So I will finish in 20 minutes. Okay, then you have the question.
Please. Thank you.
So if you have the POPs like compound, persistent organic pollutant, that I told you, that tetrachloro-dibenzo-p-dioxin is the one of the most persistent organic compound, the recalcitrant compound that you can say. Then how you will identify, you will go for the extraction, how you will go for analysis, it's a real challenge. And I'm telling you, in India, there is no facility, such type of facility is there in Indian situation, India, in at least. So how you will do it? So you have to because this formation of this compound environment is very less. In pulp and paper industries also, the dioxin, tetrachloro-dibenzo-p-dioxin is reported from different countries, but not from India, because they don't have the technology, they don't have the methodology, they don't have instrumentations. That is why. So you have to go for that one, and I can suggest you that ones can go like that, then they can found. So you have the sample site selection. So you have to take huge amount of the samples. If you will take it, then you can go for the sample collection. Then you can go for sample extraction. There are process of the sample extraction processes. So steps are there 1 to 6 that you can see the supercritical fluids, and SFEC2 is this one, then thermal deposit absorptions and all these methods. Then you can go for the cleanup processes, silica alumina gels. You must be knowing about these things. So this type of things. Then you can go for analysis. The best thing is that you have to go for HR GCMS analysis, where there you have to use a lot of column chromatography and the analytical detection methods that you have to adopt. You must be knowing about TOF MS analysis and all this that you have to take in order to then you can go for reporting. This is a real challenge, and one has to do it like that. Okay, in pulp and paper industry, that I told you that we work for the Century Pulp and Paper Industries, and we have. I am just presenting one slides only that we detected several types of the compounds, where you can see that we got it the polyaromatic hydrocarbons. This is also a recalcitrant persistent compounds. We have detected the dioxins and furans also, but not the chlorinated congeners, because we don't have such kind of facility like HRGCMS and extraction processes that I told you, cleaning processes. That facility we don't had, in fact. And then we also got the chlorinated aliphatic compounds, there's chlorodecoidoacins and all this is ethyl phenols, you got it. This is the ecoestrogens, this is the alkyl phenols, ethoxylates and the byproducts, the racine acid, fatty acid byproducts, I told you, the glycol, racines and catacols, they were present. Phthalates esters were also there. So this is how you can go to the pulp and paper industries, extraction, simple GCMS analysis it is, not the HRGCMS because it was not available. So once you have this type of compound, certainly you have to go for the degradation, I told you, that bioremediation technology that you have to develop. I am giving you a simple structure because if you are working with any waste site, including the pulp and paper industry site, you have the methane coming out of that one. This is anaerobic processes. Here you will get a lot of methane. You must have heard that from some time you have the Okhla land side, the lot of light you have seen, the burning that you have seen, it's the methane is burning. Such kind of thing that you can see it here. So if there's this dumping side, there is a lot of anaerobic process, the methane generation is there. And this methane is sometimes very a lot of biovalorization and product way one can use it, but how they will use it, that technology is important. In true sense, if you can go for the methane degradation, you can say the methane is alkane. Then alkane can be degraded by alcohol and aldehydes and acid and beta oxidation. This is the simple pathway. Why I'm telling you, because any organic compound degradation, you should know that you have to this pathway is majorly they are following. Okay, so we have the alkane is getting converted, so monooxygenation process. This is a hydroxylase enzyme, oxygenation, oxygen will incorporate it. It is either it is a monooxygenase or dioxygenase, this type of things. Here of course alkane is converted into alcoholic form. Then the enzyme is a dehydrogenase and is converted into aldehydes, and the aldehydes is converted in acids, dehydrogenase, aldehydes dehydrogenase. And then it is a beta oxidation. You have the CO2 will be released once it is there. And in addition to enzymes, there are several genes are involved. In lignin case, I told you about several genes. Here also you can see it is regulated by the plasmids. You know, there is a gene is in the either in the plasmids or the chromosomes. So this alkane is degraded by both the plasmid genes and also the chromosomal genes. And you can see that from the plasmid, OCT plasmids, which genes are coming and the chromosome, which genes are coming and how they are participate. So this means that getting the proper bacteria is important. Say in methane, in fact, one is known as the methogenesis process, where methane production is there. Another is the methanotropic conditions. You will get it converted into carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, again, greenhouse gases. So you have to convert, you have to develop technology. We have done it, but here there is a time limitation. So we are not discussing more. The another compounds I told you that phenolics degradation, that is important. So, you know, the benzene is there. And again, we have the oxygenation process. Then we have the dehydrogenation process. You can see on the top also, then you have the catechol. I told you about if there is a chlorinated catechol bleaching, then removal of the chlorine is very difficult. That's the recalcitrance values. And this catechol is degraded or either through the ortho-ring cleavage or beta-ring cleavage. And once it is there, then it is called ortho. It is known as the beta-ketopate adipate pathway. And top one is known as the meconic semialdehyde pathway, the meta-ring cleavages. So once it is there, then it is degraded. Then you have the CO2. Otherwise, it is not. So this is a concept is very important for the degradation, and one should learn about that one. Now, another important thing I told you that if you are working in a very complicated situation, civilized society, the emergence of lot of chlorinated compounds, chlorophenols that I told you, chances of the chlorophenoxy acetate, you know, the pesticides, herbicides is that 2,4-D or 2,3,5,6. T, in fact, phenoxyacetate. It's a very difficult. Naphthalenes, toluenes, biphenyl. If these type of things are coming into this environment or contaminant site, it is present. It is not necessary that your bacteria, they have the chance, they have the capability to degrade all the different types of the chlorinated compounds. So how you will develop the bacteria is a real challenge. In fact, that is why because they told you that I worked on the in situ recruitment of the bacteria. I was not much interested to go for the in vitro recruitment of bacteria because this type of bacteria is not advisable to use in the environment. In vitro recruiting, but in vivo recruiting you can use it because this is after all from the indigenous sites or from natural environment the peoples are taking it. So but you have to develop it by the growing it in the complex media, or you can say selective media sometime you can say, and then you can develop it. Lignin is bacteria is like that. So it is a typical, I can show you that how it is in lignin also you have seen. I told you the peripheral pathway, modified ortho pathway and beta oxaloacetate pathway. This is what exactly in lignin case also. So once you have the peripheral pathway, it is coming into the chlorocatechols. So chlorocatechols is the major intermediate. So this is how it can facilitate that you can go for the upper pathway. Upper pathway is the naphthalene and all the chlorinated compound, and lower pathway if you will go so modified ortho pathway. So if it is the ortho degradation or beta degradation, something else, then ortho degradation, I told you that it will go to the 3-oxoadipate pathway. So then it will go to TCA cycle, and finally once it will go to TCA cycle, it will degrade. This is how the concept is there in degradation. In the case of this pulp and paper industries, I told you that the dibenzofurans are there. So in centrally located, you can see the dibenzofurans and dioxins. So how these dibenzofurans are and dioxin are degraded, and there are several intermediates that you can find it through the GC-MS analysis. That tetrahydrobiphenyls, trihydrobiphenyls are for once you have the dibenzofuran degradation is there. Then we have the trihydroxyphenyl ethers is for once you have the dibenzo P dioxins are there, and once it will go to that there, then you have the gentisic acid, catechol, and all these things. So you need a bacteria which can degrade it. Here again there is no chlorinated compounds, so degradation is easy. In our lab we developed, we have gone for this one dibenzofuran degradation. So this is how we have gone for the dibenzofuran degradation. We got one bacteria, I told you in situ recruitment, that it because I told you about that one, that I recruited the bacteria. So I am telling you that in the case of dibenzofurans, the 4-chlorocatechol is the intermediates. Okay, so once you have the intermediates in place of catechol, you think, then you can grow your bacteria in presence of 4-chlorosalicylic acid in minimal salt media. Don't give any carbon source to the bacteria. Bacteria will adapt in the chemostat. You can see the chemostat culturing is going on the left side, and we develop the bacteria. We have given the alkaline conditions also, and also we grow the bacteria in the presence of alkaline condition in different pH values, and we got our bacteria which is degrading only the dibenzofurans. There are two different types of the dibenzofurans. One is the Pseudomonas species was there, another is the Bacillus. Two different bacteria we got it, which has the capability to degrade the dibenzofuran degrading alkalophilic bacteria. We got it. The 16S RNA sequence indicated that one is the strain is the degrading the Pseudomonas species, another is the Bacillus species. Strain isolate number C and E indicated as queries, you can say. On the top you can see the Pseudomonas aeruginosa is there. The session number is already written here, and E is the Bacillus species that is detected by 16S RNA. We got it the two isolates from the chemostat culture, and once you have the bacteria, we have gone for 16S RNA sequencing. They have the potency, and you can see the pathway through the GC-MS analysis. This is the dibenzofurans. You can say it has gone to the both. They have the angular dioxygenation, lateral dioxygenation, and lateral dioxygenation, because structurally from which bound they are cleaving is important. So there is a lot of intermediates. We got it. On the basis of this intermediates, we predicted that dibenzofuran is degraded. It has gone to the peripheral pathway, ortho-modified ortho pathway, and beta-ketoadipate pathway, and finally it is degraded. In addition to that one, I told you that this oxygenase, the first enzyme, is a complex enzyme again. It is multiple enzymes, they have component they have. So they have the peroxidine reductase, and iron sulfur protein terminal oxygenase. So you have to indicate, we have to find out perhaps this research was carried out by one of my students long back, maybe 10 years earlier, 8 years earlier. In fact, that time whole genome sequencing facility was not there. Almost 10 years earlier, I can think so. And they in fact they have done the simple enzymatic analysis they have done, and they performed the task, and then they find out that this bacteria, they have in fact the oxygenase, pyridoxine and pyridoxine reductase, this subcomponent enzyme. They purified it through these different methods, and they indicated that this Pseudomonas aeruginosa, they have the enzymes for dibenzofuran degradase. So this is completely, in fact, I told you that how this dibenzofuran is degraded. In fact, both these intermediate metabolites and also the enzymes are responsible in dibenzofuran degradation. In addition to that one, we have gone for the ex situ bioremediation of the dibenzofuran in cell microcosm. The bioremediation concept, you know, that is completely bringing it to the original state. That is the bioremediation. So this means that if any site is contaminated, the peoples can use the word the bioremediation in true sense. It is a in situ bioremediation. But sometimes if you are doing anything in laboratory, people can say it is in situ and bioremediation process, exobioremediation process in the laboratory condition. So this is a typical exobioremediation process in cell microcosm. So whatever the treatment and all these things that you are doing is very different laboratory conditions. But once you are going for the reclamation of the soil, any contaminated sites, this bioremediation concept, in fact, in situ, for people using the terminology, the bioaugmentation, biostimulation, and all these things, benefits, all these things, that one can read it. Here in this case, we have used this soil microcosm we developed, and we have done the experimentation. And then what we have done is we grew the bacteria, and bibenzofuran is the carbon source, and bacteria Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and we try to locate our bacteria through the denaturing gradient gel electrophoretic systems, the emergence of the genes, in fact, for different time intervals, 0 to 60 days. So you can see that on 15 days, there are a lot of isolates, or look, you say the gene, in fact, they emerged. Finally, it has degraded, and only in 90 days, there was only one gene that you can see. The structurally, it is the right side top one is this. This we have clipped it, and we try to find out that which kind of gene is very much similar to Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So this means that Pseudomonas aeruginosa only survive in this extreme conditions. Other bacteria, although they emerged, but it died in fact during the process of experimentation. So either maybe the dibenzofurans, or maybe because of some intermediates which is for the dibenzofuran degradation. When we try to find out the intermediate compounds in the soil microcosm, we found exactly the intermediates also. You can see that how dibenzofurans and trihydroxyphenols, then this HODOPAPA, this is formed, and then the gentisic acid it is formed, then the catechol is formed. So these are the things that is present in the soil. So this is what exactly the bioremediation, exobioremediation processes of the dibenzofuran degradation in soil microcosm. In the last one, I can tell you about the detoxification assay methods that we have developed in our laboratory. This detoxification methods, of course, it is linked with the bioassay methods. This is biomarkers, bioreporters, genes. Somebody must be knowing about that one. So once you have the dioxins like compound environment, certainly it will be the AHR receptors, aryl hydrocarbons receptors will be there, which is integrated with the FHAP, these 90 proteins, and then they will enter inside the nucleus, where they will join with the DRE, that is the dioxin responsive elements, and then they in fact they produce a CYP as a biomarkers, and then luciferase gene as a markers. So this means that if it is there, then we can develop the methods like the Colex methods, erode cytochrome P40, CYP-A1 methods, and then toxic effect you can evaluate. So this is the possibilities through which you can find out that how one can do it. But once you will use this bioremediation technology, this I told you in earlier slides, soil macrocosm studies, if you will conjugate with that one, you will find that genotoxicity of dibenzofuran, cytotoxicity, and genotoxicity analysis. This is genotoxicity, you know, that's a DNA retardation assay. Sometimes it is called this a tail movement. One can comet assay that, you know, the very famous comet assay. It is there. So once you have the DMSO, it is the control almost where there is no toxicity. You can say there is no tail length that you can see it here. But once you have the dibenzofurans or this you are giving the treatment, you have the different tail structure is there. Once you will go the treated one, the tail will be retarded. This means that the genotoxicity has retarded all together. So this is how one can say on the basis on that one, you can say that this Pseudomonas species, that is Pseudomonas aeruginosa in this case, so you have this Pseudomonas specificities, you can say like that. So they have the power to degrade the dibenzofuran, and then this genotoxicity has reduced in this case. This is how exactly. In addition to that one, there is a cytotoxicity assay, and the cytotoxicity can be correlated with the erode assay. So this is how the cytotoxicity assay is there. You can see the structure of the cells, how it is degraded for the count cell of Hepus cell lines. Here this cell count is the Hepus G2 cell lines. We have selected it, we have cultured it in vitro system, and we have exposed it with the dibenzofuran, DMSO, and also the Pseudomonas aeruginosa treated, in fact, the dibenzofurans, in fact. When we have done it for, you can show the 0 hours treatment, 18 hours treatment, 36-hour treatment, and DMSO as a control where there is no toxicity. So this type of structure that you can see it in A, B, C, D, and all these things. So this is there. So this is the erode completely this ethoxyresorrheic or deoxylase assay performed in order to monitor the toxicity. So this is the treatment of dibenzofurans with the bacteria. And once at the DMSO, there is no toxicity. Once in 18 hours, the toxicity was maximum. And but when we treated one, the 36-hour treated one, this Hepus cell lines dibenzofurans, we interacted with, the toxicity has reduced completely. This means that the dibenzofurans were degraded, in fact, and then the detoxification occurred. So this is exactly the deep. In addition to that, when we have gone for the fluorescence activities, cytometric sorter analysis also. So this is how we can go for the in dot plots of the facts, and the this represent cell granularity in the side of the cells, and this is also indicated the detoxification assay. In addition to that one, we have also gone for the hydrogen peroxide assay, and through this the hydrogen peroxide assay was also retarded, in fact, after the detoxification of the Pseudomonas aeruginosa of dibenzofuran. Confocal laser microscopy is indicating that how it has performed the task. So this is how exactly. Then we have also gone for the detection of the superoxide dismutase assay. Again, we have gone for the confocal laser microscopy, and then we have gone for the generated inside these Hepus cell lines. This is a liver cells, Hepus T2 cell lines. So, and this is how this dihydroethidium derived fluorescence at 570 nanometers, some that indicated hydroxy-derived radical superoxide dismutase formation retardation. In addition to that one, we have gone for the mitochondrial intermembrane potential differences. Also try to find out why these fluorescent probes. Here also, we proved that this Pseudomonas aeruginosa degraded the dibenzofurans, and the toxicity was reduced, in fact. So this is overall we can conclude the dibenzofuran and its congeners are difficult to detect in the environment. The degradation of dibenzofuran in several steps that you know already, intermediates that I told you. Degrading genes are present in various locations. That is the major problems, because this is what exactly the problem is, that working with the dibenzofuran degradation, because expression of the protein is difficult. So bioremediation is also difficult. In situ bioremediation I'm talking, because you have to locate the site, then you have to go for degradation. But in vitro system or in ex situ situation, we proved it. So methods are also useful to optimize. There are several bioassay methods are available. System approach is the recent day methods technology the people are using in order to remove the contaminants. So this is all this work actually performed. There are a lot of people so working, 28 students, they work so far in my lab. Some of the students' name are here. This work, in fact, presented by, you can see this left side, arrow is there, Madan Kumar, Pandoria species, he worked extensively. And also Pandoria, and the top one you can see the right side, he's Raz Maurya, he's worked on the Burkholderia. That Burkholderia is also published, but data is not here. But Pandoria species that we have supported by our data with the Pandoria species. Earlier, work 10 years earlier, one student, now he's in United States of America, Florida, Texas University he is. The Prashant Jaiswal, he worked on the Diamond fusion degradation. So, but his photo is not here. It's so this type of work was presented and worked. I am really grateful to all the students, and also I am grateful to you for giving the opportunity. Vikas ji, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. Such a delightful talk and very innovative insight into the field. And now I would like to invite Dr. Nitin Garg to brief the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. You have delivered your talk in a very beautiful manner, sir, and it is very understandable to all of us. Sir, if any of the participant has any question, then he should directly ask to sir, or put your question in the chat box.
Yes, any participant directly wanted to interact with the sir?
Should I close this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because
yeah.
So if I will close this one, okay, now it's all right. Now it's all right. So yes, I will go to chat box.
No, sir. We'll be posting you chat box का question में हम लोग बताते रहेंगे आपको.
विकास जी, थोड़ा सा मैं कंप्यूटर में कमजोर हूँ.
नहीं सर,
आप लोग इंजीनियर सब ज्यादा जो है ना इसमें ज्यादा जानते हैं.
मैं बताता रहूंगा सर आपको चैट बॉक्स का, है ना. मैं पार्टिसिपेंट को इनवाइट कर रहा हूँ सर से सवाल करने के लिए. अगर कोई इंटरेक्ट करना चाहता है तो वो भी बात कर सकता है सर से. और
otherwise they can call me also, and you can ask me questions through the internet also. आप मेरा नंबर दे दीजिए. और जो है, क्योंकि I face lot of problem इसमें. आज आपका तो काफी क्लियर है. कभी कभी इको आता है, कभी कभी जो है इको.
मैं सर आपका नंबर और ईमेल आईडी दोनों शेयर कर दूंगा पार्टिसिपेंट के साथ.
हाँ, ठीक है.
और मुझे सर एक सवाल पूछना है आपसे.
हाँ.
लिग्नोसेल्यूलोजिक बायोमास में मतलब लिग्निन पे हमको पता है कि इट इज वेरी रिकैल्सिट्रेंट इन नेचर. सो व्हाई डोंट वी गो इनटू दिस डोमेन स्पेशली. मतलब अगर हमने देखा है तो ज्यादातर तो बात अगर देखा जाए तो सेलुलोज और हेमीसेलुलोज कंटेंट पे ज्यादा फोकस है इन स्पाइट ऑफ लिग्निन. सो व्हाई इट इज सो. आई मीन why do not we work into lignin division for microbial remediation?
नहीं, इसीलिए मैं इस चीज को फोकस ज्यादा किया है अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में, क्योंकि देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ पॉसिबिलिटीज. देखिए, इस यहाँ पर और भी कई लोगों ने किया है. मेरा आपने फील्ड देखा होगा, इट्स हाईली डाइवर्सिफाइड एरिया में हम लोग काम किए हैं. अब लिग्निन जो है कई लोगों ने काम किया है लिग्निन में. साउथ कैंपस में भी कोहार्ट ने काम किया, और भी कई लोगों ने किया. आपके पुणे से भी काम हुआ है लिग्नोसेल्यूलोज के डिग्रेडेशन. आईआईसी बेंगलोर में भी बहुत काम हुआ. यहाँ जो है, लेकिन आजकल का जो टेक्नोलॉजी है होल जीनोम सीक्वेंसिंग का या प्रोटियोमिक्स एनालिसिस का जो मैंने दिखाया, और वो इंडिकेट करता है कि ये जो बैक्टीरिया है पेंडोरिया स्पेसिस या बुरखल्डेरिया, जो कि मैंने नहीं बताया यहाँ पर, लेकिन हमारे गूगल सर्च में जाकर के बुरखल्डेरिया को आप देख सकते हैं, जिसको पब्लिश हो चुका है ऑलरेडी. ठीक है. और ये जो है उसमें देख सकते हैं कि जो गेटिंग द स्ट्रेन इज डिफिकल्ट. हाँ, उसके बाद क्या है कि अगर आपको इंटरमीडिएट मिलता है, यही मैंने बताया भी है, यू विल गेट लॉट ऑफ इंटरमीडिएट्स. वेनिलिक एसिड है, मैलिक एसिड है, सेवरल थिंग्स यू विल गेट एज इंटरमीडिएट्स, क्योंकि उस बैक्टीरिया ने डिग्रेड किया है, इंटरमीडिएट्स बना है. अब हम अगर एक्चुअल बायोवेलोडाइजेशन की बात करें, तो अगर आपके पास वेनिलिक एसिड है, पेंडोरिया में वेनिलिक के साथ काम किया उसने, मदन कुमार ने, और उसने दिखाया कि कैसे PHA बनता है, पॉलीहाइड्रोक्सी अल्कलोनेट, जो बायोप्लास्टिक है. अब आप पूछेंगे कि सर जो है बायोप्लास्टिक तो है आपने, लेकिन स्केल हम नहीं कर पाए. ठीक है, क्योंकि होता क्या है कि इंजीनियरिंग कंपोनेंट जो है समहाउ एंड समवेयर इज लैकिंग. ओके, क्योंकि आपको जो बायोमास बनाना या PHA को ज्यादा बनाना इज द प्रॉब्लम. और दूसरी चीज ये है, लैब में लिमिटेशन ये है कि अगर आप बना भी लेते हैं तो उसका यूज कहाँ है. आप सामने आओ, ये देश जो है क्यों पीछे गया, ये इसीलिए पीछे गया है. इस देश में इसीलिए पीछे गया है, नहीं तो हम लोग का, कुछ लोगों का जो लैब है यहाँ इंडिया में, वो किसी से भी ज्यादा अच्छा है वर्ल्ड ओवर, दैट आई कैन टेल यू. लेकिन वो चीज आया नहीं इस कंट्री में, लैकिंग. और मैं आपने जो क्वेश्चन पूछा वो मैं आपसे बता रहा हूँ कि जो सेलुलोज एंड हेमीसेलुलोज, यू कैन गेट द प्रोडक्ट वेरी इजिली, देयर इज नो डाउट, क्योंकि इट्स अ वेरी सॉफ्ट कार्बन सोर्स. लिग्निन इज रिकैल्सिट्रेंट, लेकिन आपको बैक्टीरिया चाहिए जो डिग्रेड करे. अब क्वेश्चन ये है कि ये जो बैक्टीरिया यहाँ अवेलेबल है उसको हम कहाँ जमा करें? इस देश में वो कल्चर सेंटर तक नहीं है लेने को, इस कंट्री में। इस अनफॉर्चुनेट
एमटीसीसी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा?
कुछ नहीं करता है सर।
अच्छा।
हाँ, ये सब
और जो पुणे का
आप
सेंटर है एनसीएल,
उसको भी लिखते हैं, वो जो है आपको ऐसे आपको डाल देगा, आपको फंसाने की कोशिश करेगा कि जो मत पूछिए। हमारा तो 51 बैक्टीरिया इन्वायरमेंटल सिग्निफिकेंट स्ट्रेन है, जिसको अब मैं रिटायर हो रहा हूँ इसी महीने फरवरी में, और ये सारे के सारे बर्बाद हो जाएगा।
ओहो। सो आप मतलब इनको बाहर भी सबमिट कर सकते हैं, मतलब जैसे बाहर की लेबोरेटरीज
अब
में?
आप नहीं, बाहर के लेबोरेटरी में जाने के लिए हमें आप डीबीटी से परमिशन लो।
Okay. Sir, there are participants who wanted to interact with you. There is a Vijay Chaudhary. Dr. Vijay Chaudhary would like to interact with the sir.
Yeah.
You have raised your hand.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Sir, this
Yeah.
is Vijay Chaudhary from MIT University, Rajasthan. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session, sir. It must been very enlightening to all of us. I have one question, sir. You mentioned about lignin degrading bacteria.
Yeah.
And most of the time we see that the plants are infected by fungal species a lot. So I would like to know whether your lab has been looking into lignin degrading enzymes from fungi.
Yeah, they have, see, lignin degraders, they have, in fact, they are the fungus like the Phenocrat Caesosporium, maybe 6 or 7 slides if you will see there. So they are the fungus, they are the lignin degraders. Okay, so I have already reported, it's a Phenocrat Soredia was there reported from my lab. The Basoclemyces nevia is there, that is also there. You can see it's 5-6 slides topmost first, so initial stage. We were working on the fungus like that on lignin degraders. They are. See, the concept of the lignin degraders, in fact, came long back, in fact, from the fungi itself. Phenocratocaesosporium. You must have heard about that one. In fact, this is a lignin degraders, in fact. So it came long back. Later on, since the fungus limitations, we are focused more on the bacterial system. But in fungus also we tried. So such kind of thing is there, but certainly we are mainly focusing not on the disease aspects, we are focusing on the biovalorization, biotechnological angles, how to get the product out of that one. Because the bacteria is very significant in degradation, you can get specifically, you can cleave the malic acid, vanillic acid, you can get the product from the intermediates, and we are successful for all these things. And we have proved it, the production level is very high, only thing that we have not gone for the scaling.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
One more participants were there, B.R. Prakash. Ramesh, B.R. Ramesh, would you like to interact? Yes, please. Please unmute yourself first. B.R. Ramesh. Yeah.
Listening to me, sir?
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah.
The presentation is very nice. At retiring age, the presentation is so much beautifully you have presented. Whether the things what you are doing now, the pulp, this one, remediation, the waste management, is it at the higher level or is it at the experimentation stage still?
See, we worked, I told you that long back, I was in Pantnagar, that Vikas told you about all these things. We were working on the pulp and paper industrial problems and the color removal, lignin and all these things, effluent treatment, all these things. From there, we got this interest. In fact, when we came to JNU, in fact, we moved towards the biovalorization processes. So ethanol production also, we did the ethanol production also that I already told you about that one. Including the methane production also that we have done it from the pulp and paper industries. Bleach is bagasse, in fact, degraded bagasse. Here near this Meerut, in fact, we got the effluent from there. When we came back to JNU, they have, in fact, the pulp and paper industries near Meerut. And from that effluent, we made it. Sometimes we are also extracting the craft lignin from the bagasse, that facility in the lab here in JNU that we have. So sometimes what will happen, I'm telling you the real terminology. The Vikas is asked me the questions. I realize that sometimes the industrialists, they are very escapist because they think that the matter will go to the government and there will be problem. Pulp and paper mill has also the problems because it's a Birla Group pulp and paper, a huge plant it is in Palal Kuan. In Meerut also they have, but if you have a good relationship, you will get the affluent, you will get the things. So what we did that when we faced the problem, myself just started making the pulp. We made the pulp. We made the bio pulp in the lab. We made the bio bleached pulp in the lab, and then we made the paper in the lab. Can you do you know this thing? So this type of things, if you have the working hard and you are not getting facility, so such kind of things is there. So both the industries and lab scale that we work. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir. And any participants wanted to interact? Any other participant? Sir, one question is there from Manishta Mukherjee, Dr. Manishta Mukherjee.
Yeah.
What's the point of all our lab studies of industries don't adopt it?
Industry is not, see, this is a commitment. This is commitment is lacking because see what is happening, the bureaucratic systems that we have, Central Pollution Control Board, see what is happening, that they are not coming forward with the academician. This is lacking in the country. If they will not come forward, I am telling you one story. Professor Bhan was the secretary DBT, you know, long back before. So
yes,
he,
sir.
in fact, he tried to introduce the scientists with the industries. Okay, he was the first, I can telling you. And we had the huge meeting, pulp and paper, Century Mill people also there. Later on, they didn't come up. So Professor Bhan was very interested that they should interact and they should develop the technology. Long back, 10 years earlier story, 10 or 15 years earlier. He was the secretary of DBT that time. Nowadays, you know that if they will not come forward, industries and scientists, where we are the basic researcher in the lab. If they will not come forward, the technology will not go to the ground. Technology will not go to industries. This is the problem.
Hello.
So, yeah.
Shweta Kulshresht also raised the hand. You may unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. It was very nice presentation. And I am very happy to learn about the pulp and paper industries because this is my area also. And I would like to know about the economic consideration in the implementation of these technology, what we are talking about bioremediation. How economic these technologies are.
See, I have given you the information, this LCA cycle, LCA life cycle assessment analysis, energy analysis, the sensitivity analysis. These are the mechanism of that one, that how you can develop the cost effectiveness of the technology. So far, in fact, if you can talking about the biovalorization processes, you must have heard, I told you the Vikas ji also, that what is happening, that in the lab scale, we have tested it. Okay, so we have to go forward in order to scale up the process, and you have to go for the testing of all these things. Somehow, there's a little bit life cycle assessment also we have done it, but not in totality. So somebody has to done it. If you have interest, you can discuss sometime, and I don't know from where you are coming, and if you have the right possibilities or right facility, then I can tell you that how it is possible.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Even if somebody is interested, they can work together also, and also they can take the bacterial isolates or fungal isolates that we have. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
If anybody has question. If anybody has any question, please raise your hand if anybody has question, or put your question in the chat box. So I think, sir, nobody has now any question. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving us time, and it is very pleasure to have an interaction with you on a particular topic. Sir, it was very nice PPT. Presentation is very good. And sir, one thing which I also want to add here is that we should all have to get motivation from you that you are doing a very good research in the area of waste management and treatment. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you, Vikas.
I would like to add one more thing.
Yeah.
Since I'm working into this field only and having done my PhD, even my PhD is just near to completion into lignocellulosic ethanol.
Okay.
And
so what is possibilities? We can discuss sometime. We can discuss sometime. If we can call me, you can call me, and then because I am here for another 4, 5.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was asking for. That I will be being in touch with you and asking you so many things regarding this. And I have a lot of questions regarding this field, so I'll be being in regular touch with you, sir.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you, Nitinji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So now, participants, we are closing this session and we'll get back at 12 p.m. again with another speaker of the day, Dr. Abha Singh ma'am. Thanks a lot for joining. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.